Female gamers of Reddit, what is the weirdest or most disturbing thing said to you in a game chat? Serious. I want to drink your period blood. Said to me when I was like 12 on RuneScape years ago. Classic RuneScape. Pretty sure that's just standard dialogue for RuneScape. You're a girl. Moan for us. What? Are you saying you've never heard a girl moan before? Back in the days of vanilla WoW raiding, we had a really annoying couple in the guild as officers. One time an item dropped and the girl didn't have the DKP for it, so she ordered to fake an orgasm over vent or whatever it was called at that time. And she did. It was convincing. Our raid leader was silent and just said sounds like you have a lot of practice faking it. I miss him. I'd totally bang you if you weren't underage. Excuse me sir, you are at least a decade older than me. The internet brings the best out of everyone. The internet is the absolute best and absolute worst parts of humanity in one, often all at the same time. Anything sexual for no reason other than the fact that I'm a female usually makes the most disturbing / weird lists. The most recent has been happening in WoW. I'm camping, on and off, for a rare mountain. There is this player who won't get the hint. He follows me when I'm in the area and says vulgar things such as I just farted and it smells like you, to follow up with licks you, flirts with you. He may say something innocent before reverting back to his inappropriate behavior. On the first day, this was 5 days ago, he did what I mentioned above for over 45 minutes before logging off. Then he came back around 6 hours later and started again. Mind you, I ignored him and acted like he wasn't there. I never said a word to him. In the end, I decided to not block him, so I could get plenty of screen caps to send to a GM in a very detailed ticket. I got a reply from a GM saying that it was concerning and that they would look into it. Shortly after the GM replied to my ticket, the player logged off. Last night he showed up again. He claimed that he missed me, called me his friend, and continued on with the toxic behavior. I reported him again and added him to my blocked list. I'm fairly certain he will use an alt or just follow me around. He has done this with other players in the area, but seems to have a weird fixation on me. At this point, I don't think he is a troll. I think he's socially inept. Other not so recent disturbing things include people who wanted me to engage in private chats after hearing my voice or figuring out that I'm a female if I don't bother talking to them. These people will then promise to buy me games, DLCs, and even game accessories if I get sexual with them over the mic or via social media. This happens so much that people think I'm lying out of my ass. My own husband didn't even believe me until I had him sit down and listen to what is said to me during in-game chats in a 2-hour period. He wasn't shocked by what he heard. He was more shocked at how often it happened during this 2-hour period. And that is why I don't interact with players who are not close friends / family, and why I usually keep most in-game chats turned off. In my experience, it's not worth the BS. FWIW, they changed it so putting a player on ignore makes their entire character roster be ignored. I'm a dude, and playing a female character has got me this treatment from some pretty pathetic people who thought I was a girl because of it. It's a shame your husband didn't understand at first, but it definitely gave me a little bit of perspective about what women go through in games and IRL. Thanks. That's good to know. Hopefully this player is dealt with soon. He's more annoying than anything. It's never just one thing. It's the bombarding and the inability to take no for an answer. I hate when they get aggressive about it. What? You don't like me being overly assertive? Then I'll just be extremely assertive. Yeah, I mean, it was really his inability to respect my consistent rejection of him that made him so undeniably attractive. I really just couldn't keep my pants on with all that alpha male energy. Yeah, no. Had a guy, after figuring out I was a girl IRL, ask me if I shaved my pussy. I was playing WoW and 13 years old. When I told him I didn't want to talk about that, he went off about how he bet it was because I didn't, and that I was probably gross and hairy anyways. Dude claimed to be a teenager as well, but in retrospect I'm not so sure. Alright, what the duck? I'm so luck that I'm a guy. I mean, I play on console, and I mute most of the people anyway. Seriously, seeing these comments makes me so glad that I'm a boy. Dude, how perverted are they? When people found out I was a girl, they'd want to be BF/GF, which I played WoW from 2004, 2010ish, and I was like 12 and 05, but that didn't matter because Gwarl, it was super fricked up. I quit right before Kata launched, because frick that crap, but one of the dudes in my guild, I was 15, I think, asked me to marry him in game, moved to Bumblefuck nowhere, to be with him IRL. He had to be at least 30 at the time. OMG, yep, I remember this kinda stuff happening on WoW. There were so many weird relationships going on. A dude 7 years older than me from WoW found me on FB and stalked me 4 years, lol, fun stuff. Yeah, early WoW was a weird place. It's fortunately settled down outside of servers like Moongood, but up till like Cataclysm there were some weird ass people there. I met a good mate of mine through CSGO. One day we were playing with 2 other people and one random. He ended up finding her Instagram and, no bullcrap, said in game, in his signature monotone groan, "Holy crap, friend's real name, you're an actual woman. You even have boobs." It was freaking gold. Even she laughed at that one. Bruh, there was this one kid, when I was still with my ex, who found her Insta, phone number, Snapchat, and home address all because one of my friends accidentally said her real name. Darksexing is freaking real nowadays, and it's freaking scary. Oh, you're a girl. How often do you have sex? Frick off, perf. More than you. This is a comeback to use. All problems got solved in 3 words. Well done. Not sure if this counts, although it's related to games and chats. Anyways, I had this guy in my guild's Discord hear me in voice chat during one of the few times I'd pop in for group content. Having heard my voice, he took a liking to me apparently, and he kept trying to chat me up personally. This eventually progressed into him begging me to look at picture/videos of him wanking off because, by his own words, he was depressed and insecure and needed reassurance about himself and his wiener. Truly bizarre. As a man, I've gotta ask, why are men apes together men? WoW player here too. A few years back I was leveling an alt and ended up finding a good group to run dungeons with. There was another mage, same spec as me, and we were basically fighting for top DPS, dungeon to dungeon. He whispered me, and we started talking about the spec, class, other classes we like to play, etc. It was genuinely a nice, respectful conversation. After an hour or so, he asked if I could run him through some dungeons on my main tank, and I told him I couldn't tonight. When he asked why, I let him know that my husband was almost home from work and I was going to get dinner started. He was blown away that he had been talking to a girl this whole time and immediately asked me for pics of my feet. I laughed. He was serious. I said no, and he called me a tease. I blocked the dude, and he ended up making a lobby tune on my server, joining my guild, and finding me in our Discord server. Told me he was sorry if he was rude and that I should really give him a chance because we had such nice conversation. I was more disheartened than scared, TBH, because my worth as a human being plummeted when it became known that I was a girl. All I was good for after that was foot pics and some weird guy's idea of some potentially poon. That's the worst of it, I think. The insults and creepy behavior isn't as bad as knowing that once these people know you're a girl, you're less than human to them. Right, I've had to deal with this recently. I'd posted something on Insta anonymously. I have no indication of my gender, no selfies, etc. Someone sent me a message and we got chatting. It was friendly, but as soon as I revealed that I'm a woman, that's it. Oh, I love type of women is perfect. I like on women, etc. And I knew then that in that moment, I became nothing more than an object to consume. This has happened in video games 2 more times than I can count. I wish certain men understood that we are more than the sum of our body parts. If I were to say that I'm single, that doesn't automatically make me available or interested. I've had guys say things like, if you were single, I'd have you, etc. And it makes me sick. What about my freaking choice? Just because I'm single and you have a peen doesn't mean that I'm obligated to hop on it. I'm taken, and quite happily so, and I'll still have guys that are like, well, are you faithful? If you weren't, I'd have you, etc. Because again, My choice doesn't matter. Not that I would cheat. Somehow they are entitled to my body and I have zero autonomy. It was more the situation than what was said. I was playing with a group of guys and one young kid one night. I stayed quiet until a situation arose that I needed help with. I started talking and immediately this one guy starts talking about all this nasty stuff he wanted to do to me and how much he wanted to frick me. We had to end the game we were playing and start over without the peen, but I just felt bad because that was definitely not something the kid should have heard. It made me really wary of talking in games in the future. It doesn't matter if something does or does not happen. The second you show you're a girl to a group of guys, things get weird. Yeah, the other night on Overwatch, I opened my mouth, and before I got 2 words out, these 12-ish-year-old boys started chanting every ultra lame misogynistic comment they have ever heard. Mostly it was chanting you're fat, you're fat, you're fat, you're fat, you're fat. And the usual comments about women being dishwashers, not knowing how to play, and oh a gamer girl. As if me being a girl who plays video games means I automatically put myself forth as special. It was pathetic in the extreme, grotesquely juvenile, and not the worst thing that has ever happened to me. But it does bother me that merely speaking invites this kind of insanity, and that children like this exist out there, growing up and thinking this is acceptable. Because the sad thing is I have heard mature men do it too. They don't seem to grow out of it. Like I said, much worse has happened, but this was disturbing in its own way. We make up more than 50% of the population. Can these basement dwelling idiots get the frick over it? Speaking of sexist bullcrap in Overwatch a few years ago, before the whole let's ban the players, that say free Hong Kong scandal, while letting the Chinese Blizzard Twitter promote the CCP, there was a Zarya player in Korea who wasn't just good, she was a freaking god of the game and character. There was a lot of sexist bullcrap thrown at her, and I mean a lot, to the point where 2 frequent high-ranking Overwatch players in Korea refused to believe that a girl could be that good at the game, and that it was secretly a guy playing the game, and that if it was somehow a girl kicking that much ass they would quit Overwatch entirely and end their careers. Guess what? She took them up on their offer, streamed herself showing the full PC setup with her at the desk and everything, and proceeded to kick just as much ass as she had been previously, and those pro players freaking resigned. Last year I was playing Minecraft and we were doing the island survival, where you start with one tree. But for some reason we had to find the island, so we were all rowing our boats there, and the leader was giving out assignments to everyone, and then he said, Shauna, you were just the boat whore, we don't even need you anymore. But nice BJS, the leader was my freaking cousin. I was shocked and horrified. That's where you go above his head and tell his mother how he's been acting. But make sure you tell him you're going to do it, so you and everyone else get to enjoy his panicked begging. Mayo, he was 20 at the time, I was 25. So IDK what his mom would have done. Probably nothing. I stopped mentioning I'm female to anyone I don't know well enough to consider them a decent person. I'm the default male, since someone's you're a girl, then suck my peen response in the first game I ever played online. So I'm lucky to not have many negative encounters caused by someone knowing my gender. I remember one guy, though. I decided to give away some trash tier currency before leaving, and he directly asked me if I'm a girl, like if only girls do such. Then he started talking to me, telling about his love to a married woman who was in a hospital because of a liver failure or something like this, and complaining about females, and all the time he referred to them with no other words than pussies. You pussies always do this, you pussies do that, blah blah blah. That was awful. He was being a peen, so maybe his genital reference was only half wrong. I had a 12-year-old offer to eat me out. I almost threw up cause I was like 25. Told him he was too young for me, and the guild members all laughed at him. And that was when I stopped using voice chat. There was a prime opportunity to tear into his fragile prepubert ego. I was too shocked to know what to say. Normally I would, but he was a kid. Someone my age, I'd tell them where to stuff it, but he was in middle school. In my WoW days I played a lot of female characters cause men would just give you stuff. Was easier to find a group too. I played male characters to avoid the dudes who inevitably wanted more involvement with me than I wanted. I.e., for me to be their girlfriend, for me to engage in long, supportive talks with them, etc etc. Being given stuff wasn't worth all that to me. Right click, block lol. In a KF to server someone found out I was a female and started a discussion about boobs. And then asked me what sound my boobs make when I shake them. Strange. Maybe he thought you had squeaky toys for breast implants? How much extra would that cost? Asking for a friend.